Hello all, and welcome to today's session on return to office opportunities and challenges as part of the HR Evolve series. We thank you for taking the time today to join us as we talk about this important and pertinent topic. This session aims to highlight the challenges of returning to work in a hybrid model and the ideas to overcome them. Our moderator for today is Neeraj Rathod, VP Human Capital at NTT Data. Now, Neeraj has over 27 years of experience in hospitality, retail, IT, and ITES sectors across operations, transitions, and HR delivery. She has acumen in Six Sigma and quality management systems. She has core competence and wide expertise in leading integration and change management in various consulting assignments. She globally heads the HR business partner role at NTT Data and has extensive expertise in handling acquisitions and integration management, planning and executing strategic initiatives. So without further ado, handing over the session to Neeraj. Neeraj, over to you.
Thank you so much, Devanshu. Good afternoon, everyone. So, I think for a change, I'm saying good afternoon, and this time not good morning, good evening. Usually, we are in that virtual world today where we, there will be folks from all over. So, that's why I said, glad to just say good afternoon. So good, I think maybe I'll start with a little, saying that 2 years back, none of us, or maybe a little more than 2 years back, none of us knew this is what we would be doing right now, correct? We were with the pandemic, the situation, there was a time all of a sudden when it hit us, we started looking at how do we make people work from home. Now, they can't come to work. People couldn't step out with all the lockdowns, everything which was happening, how to make them start working, how do we support the entire system? Now, and thank God, I think the things getting better. We are looking at today's situation and scenario where we talk about how do we bring people back, with so much which has evolved in the last 2 years. It's not easy. It's, everybody, while we understand everybody, the employee base, our customers, our clients, everybody. So here we are today, all of us talking about what are some of our challenges, what are some of our opportunity areas that we see with our, return to office. So this is going to be our topic with, again, much holding up. I know we've run a little bit late. So with that, I'm going to pass it on to our panelists here today and give them, a chance to introduce themselves. Appaya, if we can start with you, move to Manoj and then Karanjit. Thank you. Unmute.
Sorry.
No worries.
Thank you very much, Neeraj. I'm Appaya and lead the People and Performance Practice for Colliers India. Colliers is one of the leading international property consultants offering end-to-end real estate management services in India and globally. And I'm based in Bangalore.
Thank you, Appaya. Manoj, would you want to go next?
Yeah, thanks, Anil. Good afternoon. I am Manoj Kaushik, and I am Associate Vice President with Daffodil Software Limited. I generally look after the deliveries in the service unit of our organization. And as per the Daffodil, we are a 1300 plus organization into software development, majorly working for the US and UK clients. And a bit about me that I personally believe that we all are students, as life makes us learn everything on a daily basis. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Manoj. Thank you, Karanjit. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Karanjit. I'm the CEO India for Kellton Tech. We are what we call a born digital IT services company. We started off, we're just about 10 years old. We started off before it was called even digital. We started off with these new technologies. We are about 1,500 strong team across the globe, and I'm based out of Gurgaon. And we are on a lot. This is a very contemporary topic. We are on it together. So I hope to learn and also contribute a little bit in this discussion.
Sure. Thank you so much, Karanjit. And thank you all of you. I think it is, you rightly said, we're all learning through this. None of this was planned for any of us. So we are all going through this. Sometimes we talk to each other, find out, how are you doing this? Are you having the same challenge? So yes, very interesting topic. So let me start with a point, maybe for all of you, Karanjit, Manoj and Appaya. keeping in mind that, we are moving to a hybrid work approach, do you think it's beneficial to bring employees full-time, or do you think it's still good that we keep a hybrid? We've seen both. We've seen people working from home totally. We've seen them how they used to work in the past from office. How do you think the hybrid would work?
All right, maybe I'll go first. I think, see, this is one thing that is contemporary. If you see when it started, when we were all thrown into the turmoil, there were all those statements that it's going to be a hybrid world. I think the reality, as Neeraj, you said, has changed a little bit. Of course, we've also had this whole talent challenges, attrition challenges along the way. I think it really depends the philosophy. There are some companies which have said, hey, we are always going to have remote work, whereas there are some where, you kind of daily, for us, it's a little bit of a daily struggle. So I think it depends on, first is what are your needs? If you have customers and the customer wants, let's say, I have customers in India and he says, we are all open, we need you there. I don't think we have choice. It also depends on roles. There are roles which need to be there. Then it is all about project needs. And thereafter, it's your broad philosophy of what it is. My view is, we're still developing a view, my view is eventually we will have some form of hybrid work, but saying that it's mana and everything would be hybrid also doesn't work. So now the challenge is, who are the people who come back to office and who are the people who continue to work? And how do you then, make it a fair thing for everybody in that? And that's kind of what's evolving. And that's what I see as IT services, right?
So if I add to this, for sure, like I agree with Karanjit, that if the client is asking for us to be in office, then we don't have a choice. So that's a no question, like if it is a hybrid or a work from office. But on a very generic view, I believe like the hybrid model, because of the evolution of the current situation, from a generalized perspective, it's pretty good. From a organization point of view, from a resource point of view, because when it says in hybrid, we actually can optimally use the resources. For an example, the real estate, the office, the facilities. Because like in hybrid model, you can actually incorporate a lot number of employees and the per seat cost can be reduced. If I go for a specific work from home, like some companies or some organizations are advertising it that they are giving that flexibility work from home for a long time. But I believe that for sure, from an individual perspective, the work from home is economical option. You don't have to invest into transportation and XYZ things and rented out accommodations. And you can save probably the commute hours. But in a long run, your cognitive learning will be stopped because like you are working into the silos and all that stuff. So I believe that hybrid is a good model to go for in near future, and things are evolving for sure.
Okay, yeah, I do agree with Manoj, and it is basically, I would say the first step is a good thing, a hybrid model. So you're sort of balancing between the two. It gives time for people to come back to work. People who have moved out to their hometowns and working remotely, this definitely helps them to sort of relocate, gives time. And it's important. It's a good first step, but I feel for collaboration, all that on the long run, definitely, office-based is much better. Though we have all got over the last 2 years, got used to, working remotely, joining meetings virtually, but still, that face-to-face touch is always gives a different impact. So that's my take on it.
Sure. And you know what, from here, I'm going to pick up another cue to ask a question that, given this and, what I've heard so far from the three of you, how do we make our hybrid model more engaging? Because it is difficult, right? Not everybody is going to be at office. So how do we make it more engaging for people and more productive?
Okay. That's to me. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. As organizations look ahead to what's next after the pandemic, many have landed with the hybrid approach, as we just said. and the way forward. So both employees and the C-suite recognize the benefit of hybrid working. Business leaders who take steps to ensure that they're making hybrid arrangements are effective and fair as possible will be well positioned to succeed in the post-COVID era. And sooner the employer devises the hybrid plan and works for everyone, the sooner we can all begin for a smooth transition into the new normal. As the benefits of a hybrid increased productivity, as I said, employee satisfaction. I also put it as more opportunities for continuous learning, improved collaboration and relationships, better outcome for mental health. Put it otherwise, though we have all got used to working from home, but I always feel that that travel, of course, traffic is a challenge, but just being away from the system is also a way of a relaxation. Not, of course, traffics are bad, but to some extent, yeah.
No, very well said. Yeah, very well said. I think, while we can on one way say, yes, you're avoiding the traffic. So, of course, some bit of pollution that we are avoiding, but at the same time, we do need some human. So, yes, interface and all of that. Thank you, Appaya, for that. So, Karanjit, when you were speaking, I was just noting down one of the point, and when we said, of course, for people who've probably gone out of town, or so when we hired, one is two things. So let me bring it to 2 points. One is during this time when we've hired people, they've started working from home. So they've not seen office, they've not worked in office. People who were working in office, when with the pandemic situation, when we closed down, they moved to their hometown. If they were on rent, they've given away that place, or they've been they're now out of station. For us, when we're telling them that come back and you need to start working from office, which means that either they have to leave that comfort zone or leave that their hometown, come back to town again. So with this, we also foresee some dissatisfaction, attrition, and given today's scenario, we're already looking at the great resignation, right? How do you look at this, and what can we do to? Well, let's start with you, Karanjit, but please, Manoj and Appaya, feel free to pitch in. This is, I think, something that we're all talking about today. Another thing I think, yeah.
So I think you wanted us to speak about how, are you saying that people are used to working from home and maybe remote, not even in your home location or office
Correct.
location? How do you get them back? And there may be that fear of attrition, right?
True, very true.
Absolutely, this is an ever-lurching thing. See, in fact, the kind of part is when we went, we didn't have a choice, and we all went to work from home. But I think the coming back to office or getting them back to office is a big challenge. As I said, one is it depends on the roles that I said. There we don't have choices. People understand, and otherwise, they get it. But I think on the other larger thing, in terms of there's always this fear that, hey, if I just tell everybody return to office tomorrow, they are, maybe you fear attrition. Now, whether that's real or is that threat real or how real is it, we really don't know. But given the great resignation, everybody is afraid to even make those calls. So, and I have been discussing it. I don't have the right answers, but here are some approaches that we figured out, right? So one is the first wave. You could pretty much make it voluntary. Ask the people. In fact, when we do survey, we hear both. There are people who say we like the work from home, and there are people who are saying I'd like to come back to office. And so people also fatigue being with their parents, being in whatever. Indian houses are not built for office work. So maybe one of the good approaches that I found was make the first wave voluntary. Like we did a survey and we found 50% of our people are in our office locations already. Now, they would be glad to come to office for 2 days or 3 days a week. Make it voluntary. That's the first one. The next one is give it to the managers then. So that's the first wave, right? The second is then let the managers figure out who the volunteers are going to be, let's say at the next level. The third wave is then when you go away from the voluntary a little bit and tell people that, hey, we are going to open office. You're expected to be in your location, but tell us when you can be back. So it's a gradual approach, right? And somebody will say, hey, it's May. Maybe give me a month, give me 2 months, give me 30 days. I got this to sort. And then there will be that very, very, so that way, you kind of are moving slowly, gradually from getting a first wave of people, then a second wave of people, and then the next wave of people. And then there are always going to be some people who will lead that exception because they were hired with a promise to remote to work at that time. They have genuine issues and things like that. The other thing is, of course, if you see, this is out there, a lot of companies have started off from the top. So like I get into the office every day, so do all my managers. So there all of us do get in. So when there is a project, a need, they do call in the next level of people. So I think it has to be gradual, make it voluntary, and then move it all the way to, hey, when can you be back? And when the the balance shifts from this side to the other, then I think I think that's a good solution. And of course, people also, as Appaya said, after all, we are social animals. We like to meet, especially a young crowd. They want to meet, so we have to do the other things, the pizzas and the chai pe charchas and things. So I think, yeah, it's difficult to get people back. We never thought we'll have this challenge, but we are here and we got to figure it out. and there is this ever-lurching thing of what happens if I just tell all of them come back, how many will come back?
Very true. No, thank you so much, Karanjit. Thank you for that. Yeah, I like that chai pe charcha and meeting people, and yes, do a little bit of socialization so people feel excited. I think that's something, especially our younger population, and a lot of folks are missing, being at home. So yes, people want to be. So with this, I think I'm going to take a cue from this and reach out to Manoj to ask. So Manoj, good people who want to come, who are excited to come to office. How do we deal with people who don't want to come to office? What do you think? You're from that delivery background. How do we deal with that?
Yeah, so first of all, very well said, Karanjit, about, and because all these are actually we have to work on the ground to call the people into the office. So one thing is that about separation of concerns, it's not only about 100 and 0 that we have to call all the people. Some are readily available. Okay, we are fed up at the home, working at the home, and we want to visit the office. And so there is a change after 2 years or so. And then there will always be a segment who find it very difficult to come to the office because of whatever setup they have been into in the last 2 years. So calling the people to the office is, if I would say that, first of all, it should not be the individuals. When we talk about, as Karanjit mentioned, that the percentages will tilt. So first of all, it should be from a project perspective or a team perspective. If you are singling out some individuals, there might be certain sentimental challenges. Why me? Why not someone else? So it's more about they have to be made understood that this is for the entire team because of XYZ reasons, and it's not only about a single particular person. The second thing is the message should be passed on not from the management but from the leadership. So there's a difference between management and leadership. It should not be that you have to come to office. It should be rather that they need to know the benefit of coming to the office. As I mentioned about the cognitive health. So in work from home, we are actually working in silos. Okay, there are here and there video calls or audio calls, and we are meeting over the calls. But in a nutshell, we all are working into the silos, and in the long run, that would impact us for sure. So things need to be articulated. This need to be shown into the people that coming to the office, as mentioned, that we are social animals. So social quotient and all that stuff, corporate etiquettes, and in IT fields, we do have a lot of young blood with us. It's not that everyone is experienced, and within 2 years, we have a lot of manpower coming from the campuses itself. So they need to learn a lot of things, and that coming to the office can help them. So it needs to, from a leadership perspective, it's again lead by example, giving them why should they come to the office, what are the benefits, and what are they missing on. Maybe in the long time, they will be missing on a lot of things. And it's again a generic. So if, for an example, if someone is a health freak or health, you cannot go to anyone and say, okay, you need to rise at 5 a.m. or 6 a.m. in the morning because you have to be fit. And it would be, and if someone is late riser, it could be inhuman to him or her, that you are asking me to leave the bed at 5 or 6 a.m. But if you inculcate the thing that this is for the fitness, this is for yourself. So that is, again, when it comes to the calling to the office, that needs to be inculcated into the people that this is for their benefit. Because organization works on business books. So the profitability will be there because we are charging the client from the per hour business. But when it comes to the people, in the long run, they will get impacted more than the organization, and there the leadership comes into the fore. As Karanjit mentioned, that the respective managers, not only about the top management, it's more about flowing from top to bottom. They should inspire the people to come into the office rather than telling them that you have to be into the office. That's my take. Thank
Sure. No, thank you, Manoj. Yeah, you're right. I think people need to understand. Nobody can, your example was also so true. I mean, you can't tell somebody get up in the morning at 5 o'clock and start walking, right? It's for your health, your fitness. Unless one realizes it, it's very difficult to tell people. And of course, as an organization, we'll have to share, that we're taking all safety protocols. This is a safe place. And yes, how important it is for people to socialize with each other. I think, yes, all those things will be very impactful. And I think we'll also learn a lot. What we are hearing today, what we are going through today may differ slightly, right? As people start coming, they'll feel more happy. Their happiness quotient will be maybe higher. That and one influences the other, that, I'm probably being. So yes, I think that will be, we are yet to see. I think we're also thinking a lot as we are, going through this situation. But do you see, and maybe Appaya, let me ask you this question, do you see any cultural challenges with, now that people were working from home for a little bit? I mean, 2 years is not a small time. Some people, as I said, who would have been hired, haven't even seen the office. Every company has its own culture. Do people, how do they fit in? How do they merge well or mix well with each other? Do you foresee any challenges there?
Yeah, there would be. That's why, that's how the hybrid, as I said, as a step up would definitely, help in sort of initiating the collaboration. As you rightly said, people have come in from colleges, they're not even seen the office. So they need to probably go through, they'll definitely need to go through like an induction process and, how things are, though it's done virtually. But that definitely will need their effort and things to make sure that they are comfortable back in office. Yeah. Yes, Neeraj.
Sure. Thank you. Manoj, anything you want to add on that? Do you think, culturally, do we see more challenges, or Karanjit, if you?
Yeah, for sure. Like the people who have joined in a virtual mode, there is a visible gap in terms of like how, because culture of any organization flows from people to people, right? So more we are working into the silos, more is that gap in between the people who have actually joined into these 2 years. So the hybrid thing or coming to the office and face-to-face value, you like that cultural things, the people who are into the organization from a longer period of time, they actually unaware, consciously or unconsciously, they are passing that values into the people who are they meeting with. And for the freshers or the junior staff that are coming from the colleges, lot of efforts need to be made that okay, you are into corporate now, and because again there was no change for them they were into college and they get into home, and then they are still in home, and now instead of college there is a organization, but in effect there is no change for them. So that needs to be told to them that okay, there is a change. Now you are into the corporate and there are certain things that we need to follow, and every organization has its own DNA, and that will be passed naturally, organically, once they are into the office.
I can stop myself from adding. So we were actually just discussing 2 days back, right, about freshers, as Manoj said, right? And we were like, they've always been in college and they've never come to our office. And so it's like, if they ever come to the office, they will say, oh, this is how office looks like. And even their behavior remotely will continue to be as if they're in college, right? And maybe we all have to also adjust to this is how the millennials are and this is how the new generation is. But those are those challenges. But I think the culture is a big issue. One is, when you onboard new people, so one is the existing people, as Manoj said, they still know something. They do come whenever they visit, if they're in but everybody else now doesn't bar anybody from coming to offices. So people do drop in. But for people who join new, how do you do the immersion? How do you integrate them into the org? In a sense, it's like the company is just a laptop for them, a laptop that got couriered and they're working. And of course, we all have to now repurpose all our previous kind of in-office engagement culture measures. They also have to be reimagined because obviously we'll be in a hybrid world. But these are challenges and we are going through challenges. And how do you reimagine every one of those policy? Like funny, it looks funny, right? I'm doing chai virtually. I mean, in a normal, before COVID scenario, people would have laughed at that. And today it's the new normal. But how do you kind of do these things? You also heard some good things like people say, hey, you know what? We get a team, get in, say we'll all work for a week in the office and then, follow it up with a dinner or a beer or whatever, right? So all those things that get reimagined in the new, all the engagement measures, culture measures, DNA measures have to be reimagined in this whole hybrid world. But yeah, culture is a big issue, immersion, integration. And I think we're going through that whole steep curve. And one very important point is we also have to train all our managers. As leaders, we are learning, but our managers also have to be trained on how to deal with this. They're not trained. They just, everybody's just dealing it with whatever they think is best. And that is leading to a lot of team fatigue, as I mentioned. People are working longer hours, all those confusions are there, mental health issues.
True. Very true, Karanjit. I think, that's there. So we'll have to see. I think people, some are very excited, but you also, one of the points that you said, people managers will have to train them also how to deal with this situation, right? Because they're not used to some of their team members working from home or some of their people, and if they come to office, who's coming to office, who's not coming to office, why me, why not, all those things initially will be a challenge. Whilst I think a lot of people are also seeing this as an opportunity. So, being in HR, one of the things that I hear from a lot of our employees is, thank God office is starting. At home, I have to do my household things as well as office work. At least I'll get some time to, do only office. I'll get to see people. I will have somebody to say, can you bring me a cup of coffee rather than me bringing it? So yes, I'm sure there's a lot of opportunities for people as well. So the other thing I hear is, when you're working from home, you're available 24/7. Like, people would ping you anytime. When you work from office, probably that time is going to be a little restricted, right? You will have some of your own time. You can eat on time, you go home, you're spending time with your family. So I think there will be, as people start or they start coming in, they'll see, whilst there will be some challenges that we will have to overcome, but I'm sure there will be some opportunities that they will see. So yes, I think that. So anything else, anything you feel that, you are experiencing that you would like to share here, within the organization, or what you hear from your employees, which will be beneficial for everybody to hear?
I think, for example, really coming back to work, that's something which everyone's been hesitant, debating all that. I represent an industry which cannot afford to do much work from home. It's more, however, we are diligent enough to ensure that we did the right checks and balances were adopted and ensured minimal, cases. We did have some cases in office because ever since the first lockdown, we have come in staggered manner. Initially it was like some of them which who are planning to also, just for an assurance, we had the crosses and ticks, people sat, 6 feet, 10 feet away. We did all that. We ensured that we drove, the vaccination drive, fully vaccinated, made sure we had those for our employees. kept. And rightly, as Karanjit said, that, we need to really train our managers, because some managers may not be really adaptive to people working remotely. So that's always a challenge. We need to get them to welcome that change. We need to have them there. So that definitely will help in assuring, people to come back. I would put it that way.
Sure. Thank you, Appaya, for that. Manoj, any inputs from your side? Anything that you are seeing with your team members or office?
So, first of all, I would like to take up that point that we need to train our managers as well. So for sure, like there should be a balance when it comes to the office. Like 2 years back, you are sitting with your team and you are very pretty confident that you are observing them, that they are being productive, they are not how things have been progressing, and somewhere they need to be trained that there should be a balance between management and micromanagement, because when it comes to the remote thing, so either you are pinging them, bugging them, or you are just leaving them by their own. So there should be a balance in between, that they need to understand between the difference between the management and the micromanagement. And though like in last 2 years there have been an ample learning, but again the leadership also get changed, so managers, and because of this great attrition and all that stuff, and then there are certain promotions, so that learning curve has been a bit steep for this people management thing. And second, coming to the office, I believe that it's a welcome change for sure from working from the home. So so bachelors are anyways, they find it very monotonous that they are into the four walls of their room and nothing, just sitting in front of laptop. And as you mentioned, Neeraj, the people who are with the kids and families, they find it very welcoming that of course they will be working for the office in a very silent space, rather than they're managing a couple of things beyond the official job. So that's also a welcoming job, welcoming thing, because it takes toll on you as a person, that you have to manage a lot of things when you are at home, and specifically as in our Indian setup, and specifically in the rural setup, a bit far away, like the family members also don't take things seriously. Okay, you are in front of your laptop, anyways they can bug you at any point of time. So things when it comes to the office, so I think the one who are coming to the office are actually enjoying coming to the office. It's more about the inertia that someone has to pick up their bags and come to the office, or change their remote location. So it's more about how to break that inertia to come to the office. Otherwise, whoso are coming to the office, they are actually enjoying. I don't see any complaint being into the office.
I can so agree to that. I think people who are coming, they're very happy, they're excited. You can see that it's, maybe how they become those change champions, to talk to others, to say, you know what, I had this inhibition, or I felt like this, and you know what, but while I have come, I mean, this has totally changed me. So I think we'll need to probably within our own organization find some of these change managers, or change champions, or people who are who can talk about this. And another thing we can do is share our own experiences within organization, what we are going through, what we have done, which could be a best practice that that may work for others as well. Karanjit, anything you would like to share, which you've experienced in your organization, and something that's worked well, which will benefit others?
No, I think I pretty much covered whatever I had.
Sure. No, I think this is good. So I think some good points. We've learned quite a few things that we need to do going back after. Maybe Devanshu, should we open it up for some questions? If anybody else has, I think we've got a whole panel here.
Yeah, sure. So, before I open it to everybody else, I have a question. So, we talked about, some of people, bachelors not, not feeling comfortable with work from home. They want to return to office, whereas we have some employees who want to work from home. So how do you bring that inclusiveness, among the team? Because there might be somebody who is sitting remotely, working remotely, and there might be people who are meeting up in offices. So how do you ensure that, there are no biases between people who are meeting at offices and people who are working from home?
Okay.
So from my side, it would be more of a, like Devanshu, it would be more about how we biases for sure. It's a human nature that the proximity does it with. But from a productive point of view and all that stuff, it's need to be like a very transparent metric, specifically when we are in distributed mode. So there should be very transparent metrics. Okay, how you measure the effectiveness of a person, or like how you measure the productivity. There should be the well set expectations prior to doing something. So if I am from the delivery side, so when it comes to the project execution, it should be like how I define the success for the next two. And it's not only about a goal of a 1 month or 2 months. It should be very specific cycles, a sprint or a week cycle. So 1 week, 2 weeks, how I define that, okay, these 2 weeks have been pretty good for us. What should be the target? What should be the small target? Like what should be the proactive things that I would be judging the team, that okay, this is the good performance, or this is the milder one, middling one, or this is the low average performance. So that should be very clear to the entire team. And people, again, dealing with the people is the, I think, very most complex thing and most exciting thing. Neeraj can connect with that. She is into HR. So dealing with the people is actually very exciting because everyone is different. So there would be certain who likes to work from home. There would be certain who likes to come to the office. It's us who need to understand. We need to understand from empathetic point of view that we need to be in their shoes. Okay, what is their need to be working from home, and to understand, okay, if this is reasonable, and if we find it unreasonable, then also we need to inspire them that okay, this is not beneficial for you. Okay, you take some time, as Karanjit mentioned. Okay, not now, by when? Okay, 1 month, 2 months. So we need to we need to be pragmatic when dealing with the people. And that's how, like and Karan and Neeraj mentioned, okay, there would be some change agents. Those who are coming to the office, they will actually inspire. From a, if someone from the top management asks, okay, you should come to the office, there should be, like, people may or may not trust them. Okay, there should be it's from the management, there should be something. But if their friends, their peers are saying that we are enjoying, that the trust would be there that it is actually good. So it's more about dealing with the people into that particular uh, not from a generic view, but let's hear them out, what they are facing and how we can actually help them to resolve that.
Absolutely. I agree with Manoj. That's right. It basically set expectations. And also because we have also had, people, I mean, they're like, mothers with small kids, all that has been a challenge. No schools also online, all these has been. So, everyone accepts that. And so we give them space to, come back. And then now with slowly school starting, they also would like to come back and things. So it's basically how you deal with each one is separate. Each one needs to be dealt individually. And, as long as they are delivering, we should also be considerate. Coming back to, the manager, he needs to also be adaptive and training of that. So it's all, it's a circle where we need to, bridge the gaps on all these points.
Sure. Thanks, Appaya and Manoj. With that, we'll open the forum for questions. So if anybody has any questions, they can put it on the Q&A tab and we'll take it one by one. So we have some questions. So this question from Alok Upadhyay. Considering hybrid model, when we will have people working from office, the first is what metrics would you suggest can be created to see the impact over efficiency, productivity, etc.? If we could take that up first.
Okay. Basically here, I would say that, if we have an engagement survey, the employee survey, you get a feel as to what percentage is willing to, that's, I think, would be a starting point, where you would look at the matrix and then, you come back again, it come back to the hybrid model. So that I would say is a starting point. Hope I've been able to answer that question.
And the second part of that question was, what other reporting mechanisms should be created which can help to understand overall impact of people working from office?
I mean, though from HR, but let me answer this. I think from a delivery perspective, we have our own productivity measurement criteria, right? That we measure whether you're working from home or working from office, you would track that. And I think it's a matter of seeing when folks were working from home, when that individual, what was the productivity of that person, work from home environment or a work from office environment. Sometimes, you could have technical challenges. It could be either ways, or sometimes, there could be many other factors, but the productivity tracker that you have, that people would use, and especially on the delivery side, I think that's what you will see as efficiency.
Moreover, what if I would like to add to this one, that we should not have a specific metrics for working from home, working from office or working from home, as like Devanshu mentioned, that how we ensure that there is no biasness over there. So the parameters for the productivity should be similar. It's more around that people or individuals need to understand how much time they needed to invest to actually become productive, or like achieving the targets for that particular week, particular 2 weeks or fortnight, whatever the cycle we have in terms of measurement. And then like we can have a individual discussions, okay, that this could be done with more collaborations between the team members, and working from office can actually help out over there. But specifically when it comes to the metrics, it should be uniform for all the folks, be it working from home or be it working. There should not be any boundary in between working from office or working from home.
So hope that answers the question. Moving on to the next one. So this is time management becomes more critical when we return to work like travel time, traffic, etc. Please share some best practices that we can do.
I think here is being flexible. We have said that, that's one of the, points which we need to consider, being flexible, because sometimes, employees do have certain commitments, having aged parents, taking them for a medical. So that way, being flexible could answer, trying to beat traffic, you could come in early or you could come in a little late and work that way. So I think that's sort of, we try and balance both, the work life there with this timing.
Yes, from the management perspective, being flexible is what we can offer, and it actually helps a lot. And from the particular employee or the individual, it's more about the self-discipline, or like if they can actually prioritize their backlog. So things need to be covered before they become critical. We need to work on important piece rather than urgent piece. So that's a self discipline that we need to actually learn. And there again, the leaders have a very vital role to play, to tell them that they need to differentiate between important and not important, and try for the things not to become critical and should be completed while important only. So there are certain quadrant theories, and I think everyone can comment on that, but yeah, it helps that we actually pick the important piece of work within the time, and not making it critical. Okay, now this is the criticality and we need to actually pick that up before anything else. So that actually makes it a vicious circle.
Sure, Manoj, thanks for the input. Moving on to the next question. This is an interesting one, and I think that most of us would be, facing this question, which is, what's in it for me if I return to office when productivity has been more from work from home? So I guess this is a question that, most of you guys will be facing.
I think I'm covered this a little bit. Which side the majority lies. So yes, the question, it could be from somebody, I want to resist going back to office. But I think as the scale tips and people start coming, I think that question becomes a little irrelevant, actually. The second is we also talked about the benefits of being in the office, right? So we are all human, we want to interact. There are certain things that are critical, which can only be done when in person. Things like innovation tasks, negotiations, discussions. So all those things matter. Also change in it piece. I think it's a mix of all of this. An individual would start there possibly, but I think all these other things would sort of get tipped to the other side. I don't think it's a very, yes, no, and here is this for you kind of.
So there's one more from Amit Verma saying that motivation is the key driver to bring people back to office. What could be the top 3 motivators?
Maybe I can say something here. I think social well-being, right? That's one thing. When you're with people, you're more socially active, emotionally. You see people, you're eating with somebody else, there's a pleasantry. So well-being, you're talking to people, you see people around, emotional, angle. So all of this, I think when you're with people, you have a question, you have a doubt immediately, all those things. So having that environment, and all of us, whether when we've gone to school, we've not done homeschooling. When we've worked, I mean, there've always been, there was a 6 days, there's now 5 days, all of this, but you're around people. I think being around people is a big motivating factor. Unless somebody else wants to add more to it.
You answered it. Anyway.
One thing that I would like to add from a individual's point of view. So when I actually started my career, so I was given this advice that growth path can be either linear or exponent. So if it's linear, when you actually learn from your own mistakes and you understand where you are stuck and you come over those points. But if you want to grow exponentially, then you should understand the issues where the people are stuck. So you need to actually work with your team to understand, okay, what are the points that actually comes in between, and you understand and you learn from the experiences of others as well. So as Neeraj mentioned, that one is for sure the social quotient and all that stuff. From an individual or growth perspective as well, you being into the team, not working into the silos, you are actually more active when you are in office from a social point of view. You know that where your colleagues and your peers are stuck, what are the points that need to be addressed, and those all comes into your experience kitty. And I think that benefits a lot. That's a long term, it's not a short term. So motivation is not that, okay, the organization will fund your commute, organization will fund your XYZ. It's more about that you need to understand that from a long run perspective, you will get a lot of things. There are a lot of things on offer being into the social setup rather than working from home in silos.
Sure, Manoj. Neeraj, thank you for the input. If there are no more questions, I think we've covered all the questions. So then, thank you all for attending this session. We treasure your time with us, and we hope you found the session helpful and informative. We look forward to seeing you in the next time. Stay safe.
Thank you, Devanshu, and thank you, Appaya, Manoj, Karanjit. Thank you for being such a good panel and sharing all your inputs. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Stay safe.
Stay safe.
Stay safe.
Eat your e-kind. So. Yeah, bye. Sometime. Bye, Karanjit.
Bye-bye.
Bye.